Now we're beginning chapter 2 of Hosea. The first chapter actually is quoted in uh, Romans 9:25 to 9:28, also verse 23 of chapter 2, and we'll go into that in a second. Uh, and also we'll be staying within pronouns in the part of speech, and all the pronouns are in this orange color. We'll be pointing out certain things concerning this part of speech, and then the next chapter will zero in on specific pronouns. And so here we have Hosea being married to a harlot and having 3 children, and it begins, Ipate tis adelphis imon, leos mu, ke ti adelphi imon, eleimeni. Speak to your adelphis, brethren, the Philadelphia, Adelphia, the city of brotherly love. My people, laity is the derivative for laos. And to your adelphi, the eta at the end of that word, instead of the sigma in the masculine, makes it a sister, being shown mercy, and that's her name. And verse 2, Krithite prostin mitera imon. Krithite oti avti u ginimu, ke ego u kanir avtis. Ke exaro tin pornian avtis ek prosopumu, ke tin mikian avtis ek mesu ton maston avtis. Plead with your mother, the meter, in Latin, Spanish, mother. Plead. And the exclamation point makes it in the imperative. For she is not my gynecology. She's not my wife. Gynecology being the derivative. And I am not her husband. Ego is the pronoun in the first person, and we have the ego as a derivative. And I am not her husband. And I will lift away her pornean, pornography, the derivative from that word, from in front of me, and her mikian aftis ek mesu ton maston aftis, and her adultery from between her breasts. Mesu, Mesopotamia, between the rivers, meso, and mesoderm, the skin in between the outer and the inner layers, and maston, we have mastectomy is a derivative for maston, her breasts. So God is speaking here, and he's going to do something about the situation. She's not the wife, and he doesn't want her as a husband because of her harlotry, and he's referring to Israel, of course. And she's a prostitute, and not only that, she's an adulteress. She apparently was still doing her works when she married Hosea at God's direction. In verse 3, opos an ekviso avtin gimnin, ke apokatastiso avtin, kathos imera genesios avtis, ke thiso avtin os erimon, ke taxo avtin os gin anidron, ke apokatino avtin in dipsi. You can see all these etas. There's an eta sigma, eta ni, eta sigma. They're all feminine. Whenever you have the eta in the pronoun, then it's always feminine. And so he's going to strip her naked, gimnin. The gymnasium is a derivative from, they used to wrestle apparently naked and work out, and restore her as the day imera ephemeral is the derivative, genesios, genesis of her birth. He's going to strip her and remake her. And I will set her as erimon, desolate. Erimon, hermit, is a derivative. And I will arrange her as a waterless gene, geology is the derivative. And I will kill her by thirst. So he's going to do things to Israel that is going to be not good. In verse 4 it continues, Ke tatekna aftis umi eleiso, oti tekna pornias estin. And 1, in no way, 2, shall I show mercy, 3, on her children. So it's going to be complete. What God is going to do is going to deal with Israel and all the families, the people that were there, even the children, like he did in sending the Israelites into the promised land and telling them to destroy the women and the children in some of these places. And eleiso, we have Kyrie eleison, for mercy, eleison, God have mercy. For it is the children of Porneus. Oti ex pornevsen emitir av ton. Katiskasnen e tekusa av ta. Oti ipe porevsome opiso ton eraston mu. Ton didonton mi tus artus mu. Ke to idor mu. Ke ta imatia mu. Ke ta othonia mu. Ke ta eleon mu. Ke panta osa mi kathiki. For their mitir, mother fornicated, ex pornevsin, there's the verb. You can see the porny in there, and ex makes it outward. 1, the one bearing them disgraced them. For she said, I will go after my lovers, the ones giving to me my bread loaves, and my water, ethor, hydraulics is a derivative, and my garments, and my linen bands, and my eleon mu, olive oil. Our oil is a derivative, oleo, or oil itself. And panta, all, pan is all in English, as much as is fit for me. So Israel is going fornicating with these other nations basically around her. Egypt was one of the main ones. And then calling the Assyrians to help when they were attacked by the Syrians. And she went after these other people rather than God, forsaking God. Via tuto, on account of this, Hithu, account of this, behold, ego phrasotin odon aftis, and skolopsi, ke anikodomiso tas odus aftis, ke tin trivon aftis umi evri. Behold, the ego, I shut up her odon, the cathode, the way of current, with barbs, and I will block her odus, plural, and her road in no way should she find. So Israel is not going to be able to escape the country. Things are going to happen against them. This happens about 40 years later. This time right here is Hosea is prophesying. This was during the time of Jeroboam II. And he actually wasn't really a bad king, not like the ones that were following. The six, I believe it's 4 more kings, and then the end comes in 40 years. In verse 7, Ke katadioxate tus arastas avtis, Ke umi katalavi avtus, Ke zitisi avtus, Ke umi evri, Ke eri porevsome, Ke epistrepso proston andra mu, ton proteron, hotikalos mi in tote inin. And she shall pursue her lovers, and in no way shall she overtake them. And so she's going to go after these countries, but not be able to succeed to save her. She shall seek them, and in no way shall she find them. She put all her hope in all these in Egypt and Assyria, but yet when it comes down to really needing help, they're not going to do any good, just as we don't do any good, and we can have all kinds of things to fall back on. Money in a bank, and all of a sudden the economy falls and we lose that. And our relatives that have money and they can be gone. Just so many things that we can put our trust in and they can fall, but putting your trust in God is what's necessary, and Israel didn't. And she shall say, I shall go and return to my former husband, Andra. Android, it has something to do with a man. For it was good to me then rather than now. So now she wants to go back to her husband, and because she realized it was better, sort of like the prodigal son with Jesus in the New Testament. Ke afti uk egno, oti ego edoka afti ton siton, ke ton enon, ke to eleon, ke argirion, eplithina afti. Afti they argira, ke krisa epi se tivao. And she did not know that ego, I, gave to her the grain, and the enon, enon, we have vino, wine, and the eleon, and the argirion, we have Argentina, country named after silver, multiplied silver to her. Israel didn't realize it was God. She thought it was their own doing, her own doing. But she, one, made argira ke krisa, chrysanthemum, the gold flower, made silver and gold things to Baal. So God gave her these things, but her love was towards another god, to Baal. Verse 9, Dia tuto epistrepso ke kimiume ton si ton mu, kath oranaf tu, ke ton ino mu in karo af tu, ke afelume ta imatia mu, ke ta athonia mu, to me kaliptin tin iskimosinin aftis. On account of this I will return and carry away my grain according to its season, and my enon in its time, and I will remove my garments and my linen bands so as to not cover her indecency. He's going to leave her naked instead of taking these linen bands. Othonia is an interesting word. We see this word only appears here. It appears mainly in one other place in the Bible, and that's in the New Testament. If you look under Luke 24:12, it says, But Peter, having risen up, ran unto the sepulchre, and having leaned over, he sees the Othonia, the linen bands, being situated alone. And he went forth to his own place, wondering at the thing having taken place. And then in John 19:40, the same type of situation. Then they then took the body of Jesus and tied it with small pieces of cloth, othonies, with the aromatics, as is custom with the Jews to embalm. And in the place where he was, and a garden was in the place where he was crucified, and in the garden there was a new sepulchre. Then chapter 25-7, it says, and leaning over he sees, John, the linen bands lying. However, he enters not. Comes then the linen bands is the Othonia. Comes then Simon Peter following him, and he entered into the sepulchre and views the linen bands lying, the Othonia. And the scarf which was upon his head is not lying with the linen bands, but separate from them. So the Shroud of Turin, if we had read this part of John, would have known that the Shroud of Turin was a fake before they figured it out, because the facial part was separate. When then the Shroud of Turin, the facial bands were together. Keinin apocalypso tin akatharsian avtis enopion ton eraston avtis ke me these excelite avtin ek hieros mu. And now I will uncover apocalypso. The apocalypse is a derivative uncover. Before we in verse 9 we had kalyptin, that's to cover. We have eucalyptus, a good covering. The eu or ev in Greek is good. And so he's going to uncover her uncleanness before her lovers. And no one shall rescue her from my hieros, the hand, the chiropractor is a derivative. Ke apostrepso passus tas ephrosinas avtis, eortas avtis, ke tas numenias avtis. And I will turn away all her ephrosinas, ephrasie, to delight is a derivative of her holiday feasts. And her numenias, the mean is a month, and men, the pause, menses, the men. New is English derivative is new. It's a transliteration almost into English. And her sabata, savata, Sabbaths, direct transliteration, and all of her festivals. He's going to turn away the gladness, and times are going to be tough for Israel. Ke aphanio ampelon avtis, ke tasikas avtis, osa epe, misthomata mu tavta estin, edelken mi, I oraste mu, ke thesome avta is martyrion, ke katafagate avta ta theria tu agru, ke ta petina tu uranu, ke ta erpeta tis gis. And I will remove her grapevine and her fig trees, as much as she said, these are my wages. So what Israel had is going to be taken away in the physical dimension of things that are growing, the agriculture, which my lovers gave to me. Maybe Israel received trees and things to plant. And I will appoint them for a martyrion. I should have highlighted that in yellow, 3142. A witness, a martyr, is a derivative. And the two wild beasts of the four agru, agriculture is a derivative, the field, shall devour 5, 6 them. And the birds of the uranu, heaven, Uranus is a planet, is named for heaven. And the erpata, herpetology, study of reptiles, and herpes is a scaly condition of the skin, like scales on a reptile, the geese. Verse 13, Ke ekvikiso epaftin tas imeres ton vaalim, en es epethian aftis. And I will take vengeance upon her, for the imeras, ephemeral, is a derivative of the Baals, in which she sacrificed to them. And K, periethitheto, ta enotia avtis, and put on her earrings, ke ta kathormia avtis, ke eporeveto opiso ton eraston avtis, emuthe epelathato legi kyrios. So he's going to take vengeance on her, going after these alien gods, and putting on these earrings and necklaces and going after her lovers, trying to get them to do her once, and forgetting the God that he's the one who she should have went to for her needs. So much us today of going after these false things that offer hope but really don't have hope, and forsaking God at times. Dia tuto idu ego plano aftin, ke taxo aftin os erimon, ke laliso epi tin cardian aftis. On account of this, behold, ego, I will wander her, and I will order her as desolate, erimon, a hermit, and I will speak unto her cardian, the cardiac arrest, cardia is the heart. Ke thoso afti ta katimata afti sakithan, ke tin kilada ahor dianixe sinasin aftis, ke tapino thisate aki katatas imeristis nipiotitos aftis, ke kata tas imeris anavasios aftis, ekgis Aegyptu. So he's going to make her desolate and go back to zero, go back to point zero and redo the whole thing. I will give to her her possessions from there, and the valley of Achor to open wide her understanding. What does it mean by the valley of Achor? If you go to Joshua 7:24 to 26, you see how this man Achan, called Achor in the Greek, and later it was Achor, Valley of Achor in the English King James. It's kind of strange how these names change, but this Achan stole when Israel was going into the Promised Land. He stole from the offering of consumption that God told Israel to destroy everything in Jericho, yet he took this gold and hid it in his tent, and when the Israelites attacked the city of Ai, they were defeated. Many people were killed, and then they went through this process of elimination. It came to Achan, and he confessed, and they went and found the gold, and then they stoned him. In verse 24 it says, and Joshua took Achan son of Zerah, and the silver and the robe, and the gold wedge, and his sons and his daughters, and his calves, and his beasts of burdens, and his sheep, and his tent, and all his possessions, and all Israel with him. And they led them into Emech-Achor, is a valley. Emech is Hebrew. And Joshua said, why did you annihilate us? For the Lord to utterly destroy you even today. And all Israel stoned him with stones, and they burned them in fire, and they stoned them with stones. And they set over him a heap of great stones until this day. And the Lord ceased the rage of anger. Therefore this is the name of it, Emech-Achor, unto this day. So this ceased the anger. So God is doing this to cease his anger. It's going to be a long time before Israel comes back. They did come back for a short period of time at the time of Jesus. But then after that they were destroyed, and for 2,000 years they were sent into the world, the Jews were, and not until 1948 did they come back. And God had used up his anger here and this time with these Israelites, the northern kingdom. And he says, I will give to her possessions from there in the valley of Achor to open wide her understanding, just as Achan's, all his possessions were taken away and destroyed. And she shall be humbled there according to the days of her infancy, this is what it was back in, that was the infancy of Israel when she was just coming into the Promised Land, according to the days of her ascending from out of the land of Egypt. So that's all in Joshua. In verse 16 it continues, Ke este inakini ti imera legikirios, kalese me o anirmu, ke u kalese me eti valim. And it will be in that day, imera, like says the Lord, Kyrios, Kyrieleison, the derivative, she shall call me my husband, so it's going to be different. There will be my husband, and shall not call me any longer Baalim. So Israel, when this happens, when they come back, they're no longer going to be going after the Baalim. And verse 17, Ke aksaro ta onomata ton valim uh, oh, sorry, get this back here. Ke exarota onomata to valim extomatos aftis, ke umi ministosin uketi ta onomata afton. And I will lift away the names, the onomata, onomatopoeia, or noma, name, of the valim from her stomatos. The stomatic has to do with the mouth, related to the stomach. And in no way should their names, onomata, be remembered any longer. The mini stosim, whenever you see this mini ita, has something to do with remembering. Mention is a derivative. In verse 18, ke diathesome aftis, diathikin in te imera akini, metaton therion tu agru, ke metaton petinon tu uranu, ke ton erpeton tis gis, ke toxon ke romphean ke polymon sin tripso apotis gis, ke katikio ep elpidi. And I will ordain to them a covenant in that day with the wild beasts of the field and with the birds of the heaven and the reptiles of the earth. Ezekiel talks about this time when Israel is going to be attacked by all these countries and the people are going to be killed, all the ones attacking Israel. And the beasts of the field and the birds and reptiles are all going to have a feast on these dead bodies, and could be what he's referring to here, because he's now talking about bringing Israel back in to his way. And it says, and one, I will break bow and broadsword and war from the earth, giz, polemics, war over words, and I will settle upon hope, this hope that God is giving. And this broadsword, breaking it up, and if you go to Joel 3:10, you'll see another reference to this. It says, cut up your plows into broadswords and your sickles into spears. Let the powerless say that I am strong. Gather together and enter all nations round about, and gather together there. Let the gentle one be a warrior. So this time of cutting up the plows and broadswords was normally what was going on. And God used the broadsword for his wrath. So that was the normal way that God used this word romphean, as a way of his showing his wrath on people. But it changes here, of course, and then also in Micah 4:3, and it says, and he shall judge between many peoples, and shall completely refute many nations unto afar. And they shall cut their broadswords into plows, and their spears into sickles. And no longer should a nation rise up again, no longer should a nation raise up a broadsword against a nation, and no longer should they learn to wage war. So this period of time that's going to happen could be happening soon, and God is going to bring these nations against Israel. Afterwards, the world will change. And also in the last 10 chapters of the book of Ezekiel, it talks about this future time of the temple being built and peace reigning on the earth. Verse 19, it continues, Ke ministevso me se imavto, iston iona, ke ministevso me se imavto in dikasini, ke in krimati, ke in elai, ke in iktirmis. And I shall espouse you. Now there's the me, ni, ita, but remembering is generally what it is, but in this way it's not. It's one of the exceptions. It's espousing somebody. There may be a tie in the Greek word somewhere, but I don't know what they would be. But I shall espouse you to myself into the Iona, Eon. It's a direct transliteration into English. And I shall espouse you to myself in righteousness, and in equity, and in elei, mercy, and in compassions. Uh, God did espouse us to himself and through the person of Jesus. And and it was in equity, mercy, and compassions. All these things, righteousness, are tied in with Jesus. In verse 20, Ke ministevsome se imavto in pisti, ke epigenosi ton kyrion. And I will espouse you to myself in pisti, trust, our belief. You might see this word in the New Testament. The King James would have faith, but I don't use faith in the Apostolic Bible because faith doesn't have a verb. Trust has to trust, or have trust. Trust is a verb and a noun, but how do you faith? You have to kind of put other words to it, and everybody argues what is faith, but it's just simply trust or belief. So he's espousing, I'm espousing you to myself in belief or trust. And you shall recognize, now there's a lot into that short sentence right there. It could be talking about the trust of Jesus, how he trusted, and he believed and trusted and went to the cross for to deliver us from death into life. And that might be the type of espousal he's talking about. And you shall recognize the Kyrion, the Lord. Ke este in ekini ti imera legi Kyrios, epakusome to urano ke o uranos, epakusate tigi. And it will be in that day, says the Lord, I will give heed to the heaven, urano, and the heaven shall give heed to the earth. It's going to be in compliance. The way of God is going to be in compliance. It's not going to be not compliant as it is now. The animals are killing each other, and the climate causes problems on the earth, droughts, floods, earthquakes, all kinds of things. But here it's going to be, the two are going to be compliant. And the earth shall heed the grain and the wine and the olive oil, and they shall give heed to Jezreel. Excuse me. Jezreel, we heard that in the last chapter, that valley that was up north in Megiddo, by Megiddo, Armageddon, and so they're going to give heed to Jezreel. Somehow he's bringing this into this time of, I see this attack, that these countries are going to come against Israel. Afterwards, things are going to change. Right now, these countries are strong, and Israel looks like a little postage stamp country that can be wiped out easily. But yet, if it wipes out all these countries that come against it, and the country from the far north, if you look straight up in the far north, on the same latitude or longitude line, whatever it is, that goes straight up north and south, you'll see the biggest city on that line, it's same as Jerusalem, is Moscow. They're only like 20 or 30 miles difference on that line. And this attack from the far north of Gog and Magog could very well be Russia and all these countries coming against Israel. And when they're defeated, then things will be different. Israel will be a world power. And it'll be interesting. Could be happening real soon. Ke spero aftin imavto epitis gis. And I will sow her to myself upon the gis, upon the earth. And agapiso, I will love. The agape is the derivative. And I will love tin uk igapimenin. I will love the one not being loved. Igapimenin, the agape. loved. And that is, I see as the Gentile, possibly the Gentiles. They were the ones not being loved. And Romans 9:25, 28, it says, as also in Hosea, he says, I will call the one not my people, and the one not being loved, one being loved. And it will be in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people, there they shall be called sons of the living God. And Isaiah calls out over Israel, saying, though the number of the sons of Israel should be as the sand of the sea, the vestige shall be preserved. And so this tying possibly the Gentiles into this period. I will say to the one not my people, that's more the Gentiles, Leo mu, Leos mu isi, you are my people. And he shall say, Ke avtos eri, Kyrios o theos mu isi, you are the Lord. He shall say, you are the Lord my God. And that is what we say. And the Lord is now the God of the people that believe, not just the Jews only, but the Gentiles, the nations, the ethnos, ethni. We are the people that are now his people, and we have called him the Lord my God. Hope you'll continue us in chapter 3, and we'll be seeing you the next time. God bless.